Hey there, folks. Chris McLean back with another episode. And in the studio today, I have Altimese from the A-ZAR Agency. And they're the agency of help for business warriors that are ready to maximize their brand story for authentic impact through public relations and digital marketing. Sounds like a very interesting setup. Thank you so much for stopping by, Altimese. Great to have you here.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me, Chris.
No, pleasure. Let's start with A-ZAR. I know we just spoke about this off camera, but it's a really interesting name and it's got a lot of cachet to it. It's got a lot of meaning behind it. So start there. Tell us why have you called the agency A-ZAR? What does that mean? And then take us through how you built the agency. How did it all come about for you?
Yes, absolutely. So, a few years back, I was going through a very difficult time in my life, and I was just like, what in the world is going on? And I was actually kind of angry. So, I was like, what in the world is going on? I was confused and, just really trying to find the true meaning of what it means to be a woman. And I
Mm-hmm.
stumbled across this awesome book called Love Warrior by Glennon Doyle. And in the book, she referenced the concept, the idea of a warrior, that women are warriors. And she dove a little deeper, and she talked about how in creation, Eve was referenced as A-ZAR. When Adam woke up, he called her woman. God did not. God referred to her as A-ZAR, which is also used 21 times in the Bible during battle, and it means warrior. And also, God Himself, herself, also refers to Himself, herself as A-ZAR. So when I had that revelation, I was like, oh my gosh, all of this makes sense. And all of the struggle and everything, all of the story, all of the journey is actually designed to just bring the warrior out of us. So it's actually tatted on my arm. It's like
Oh,
literally a
wow.
part of my life. But in 2016, no, 2019, I actually got laid off from corporate America. I went in at 9, had my, normal weekly meeting with my supervisor at 10, and I had my box at 11, and I was headed home.
Wow. Wow.
And, I got home, and we live in the very beautiful Hilton Head, South Carolina. So, it's not a lot of agencies out here. We had a little daughter, and my husband is an entrepreneur as well. So I said, I don't know what to do. And my husband said, well, you have this little side hustle thing on the side. Why don't you grow that? Instead of asking for a seat at a table, just make your own. And that was just the beginning. That was the beginning
Yeah.
of
No.
this beautiful adventure onto entrepreneurship, and then ultimately building my agency and scaling.
Yeah. Well. Yeah, it's cool how life shows up and shows us the doors sometimes.
Yes.
It shows us doors and pathways that we sort of never realized were
Never.
open to us until we have
Yes.
something. We sort of get this slap in the face that says, yeah, you've got to make a change now. You've got to do something different. And suddenly we go, oh, hang on. How long had you been sort of running the agency or the business as a side hustle at that point before you went full
Oh,
time?
yeah. About 3 years. About 3 years. And I would
Okay.
tap out at 2 clients because, I was a director of social media, had a team of
Mm,
9. We were, in 3 different states. And, it was a lot. So I would just tap
yeah.
out at 2, and I was actually kind of content with that, if that makes
Mm,
sense. So,
mm, yeah.
I would play with the idea of entrepreneurship and say, oh, you know what? When I get this nest egg, when I have this saved up, when I do this,
Mm,
then maybe. And it was as if the universe just like kicked me out. Like it was just like, get out. And it was
yeah.
the
It's
best kick in the butt ever. It was the best. I
mm,
wouldn't trade any of the process of the journey for anything in the world. It's exhilarating, exhausting, and really challenging all at the same time. And
mm.
I love it.
Yeah, yeah. But then that's the thing. That's where we and there've been many surveys done, but the people that tend to be the happiest, or the happiest people, are people that do confront challenge, right? We go through challenge, we get a bit gritty, we kind of get gritty as hell, and we've got to push through stuff, we've got to overcome. And I'm sure yourself, as you just said, and people listening, that if you look back over your life and you look at the moments that you really genuinely cherish, those big accomplished, where you felt pride, you felt proud of yourself, generally those are where you've overcome. Like, some of us we get lucky and things just kind of show up out of nowhere, and those things are great. But a lot of the time when we think about where we felt the best, where we've been our happiest, is because we've faced something and overcome it, right? So it's those hard times, it's those where we sort of had to graft and be diligent and put in, as you said, sort of that take that warrior path of, the path of resistance sometimes is the path that we prefer to tread, because we feel accomplished at the end of it, and we get more genuine happiness out of that, going through a process like that. So yeah, I think that is what the entrepreneurial journey is, right? It's not easy.
Yeah.
It's not
at all.
when you look at building a genuine business, it's much less about make money fast, as sort of make money slowly over time and sort of play this long, infinite game.
Yes. And when I'm so sorry to cut you off. When I first started,
go.
I realized quickly that there's this a blur between freelancer, entrepreneur, and agency owners, right? And because there's this blend, people really don't know who they're hiring. They don't know, to which one. And all of them have one strong commonality, which is freedom. They have the freedom to choose and decide their path, right? But then when it comes a little deeper into the meaning of each, right? A freelancer, they are 100% okay just doing projects like on the side, and they're okay with the ebb and flow of that project, and they have no intentions of growing something larger, right? And then there's the entrepreneur, who of course still loves freedom, but they want to create something maybe for their family. They want to build a legacy. They want something that will live beyond themselves. They have something that's calling them to do something for their family and for those around them. But then you have agency owners. And the agency owners are the bold, the bold ones to think that they're going to change the world with impact, right? And they're so crazy in that idea. Many of them make that, but that's a very difficult yet challenging role, I guess, to say, because then you realize that the assignment is so much greater than you, that you push through, because you say, okay, it's not just about me anymore. It's now about the 8 to 15 people I have on my team, or it's now about the other lives that we're preparing to touch because of the assignment that we're headed on. It's a different level of perspective. And when you hire people, you have to know which lane they're in, because how you manage and partner with a freelancer is totally different than how you would manage and partner with an agency owner. They look totally different. And I learned that very quickly, that the lines were really blurry. And, people would hire an agency owner thinking they'll work with the owner. And the owner's like, no, I have a team. And they're like, wait, I just want to work with you. And then you'll say, oh, well, that's a consultant, or that's an entrepreneur. So, just so many nuances. And being able to decipher and decide where you fit, and really owning that, because nothing's wrong with either of those lanes. They're both amazing, right? It's just a matter of what path you decide to take for your life.
Yeah. It's so much about making that decision kind of early, or at least some part in that journey of deciding that because those 3 paths that you've outlined are very, very distinct. As you said, they're similar, and yes, very, very blurry. I think, as you're saying, from that client perspective of I want a designer. Now, is it a freelancer? Is it a contractor? Is it a consultant? Right? Or is it an agency where I'm hiring a bulk of people?
Yes.
there's a blurred, very distant perspective of the owner, me as a freelancer versus me as an agency, and a very, very distinct and different roles, and much more all-encompassing, sort of, as you take that jump from solo, freelance into sort of entrepreneur, and now entrepreneurs sort of starting a bit of a business. You're getting a bit more business mindset. You got to start thinking a bit more financially, right?
Yes.
A bit more strategically, rather than like freelance is just tactic, like where's the next client, where's the next bit of work. Okay, they said project. That's how I feel my life. Once you move to entrepreneur, now it's right now. I might have a bit of a team, but it's a bit more strategic and planning, and a little bit longer term. Year maybe of how am I going to make this thing consistent and scalable and systemized. And then agency, you throw a ton of people on top of that. You throw more relationships, bigger contracts, right?
Yes.
More overheads, more balls to juggle, bigger clients potentially, right? Which is a whole different category of client, right? So when your client upgrades, now you're maybe in sort of CEO, C-level, C-suite, right? Dealing with different people. And I think that's, as you say, I think that is the part that a lot of us come to this from craft, right? We're the creative, we're the coder, we're the developer. We do that bit, and then we've got to pick a lane, and whichever lane we pick, if we're not particularly suited to be in. So having that conversation with yourself or with a mentor or a partner or someone up front, as you're saying, I think is really important to understand what each of those lanes actually looks like.
Yes.
A year, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years down the line, and what that commitment looks like. So and so how did you make that decision? Because you obviously moved from that kind of hustle, side hustle, freelancey kind of position into, this is my thing now. I'm picking my lane. I'm going agency. How did you kind of make that commitment to yourself? Were you very aware of what that was going to entail at the time?
No, I wasn't. And, I think I jumped head first because I was kicked out. So my instinct was really survival when I first started. I just wanted to make sure, we had a daughter still in diapers. I wanted to make sure that she had diapers. So I actually aligned projects with, okay, diapers are this much each month. So we need to make sure we have this bill covered. This is how much the mortgage is. We have to. So I literally, down to that detail of budgeting and figuring out who I was working with. It sounds good. It sounds nice. But then when you get into the nitty gritty of the work, you realize that you are you're not properly putting the proper price on the value that you bring, right?
Yeah.
Because you're looking at it from more of a, I do this and I get this, rather than saying I have these many years of experience and what I am preparing to give to clients on a more detailed, more expertise style type of level. And I just realized I had to shed a lot from corporate America. There's an employee mindset and an employer mindset. And I was definitely in the mindset of an employee when I first started this journey, where, if I gave a recommendation to a client and the client said, I don't really like that, I would say, oh, okay. Because in a department, that's what you do. You collaborate with the other departments, but this isn't a department, it's a client. And if I know that the client is saying something that may not be the best or may not be ideal for what their return on investment should be or what the outcome should be, I should be confident enough to push back in a very partner style, in a very collaborative way, and of course in a respectful way, but letting them know, hey, this is the recommendation and here are the reasons, right? And lay out those reasons for them. And it really took me a process of just having an honest conversation with myself to say, you have to take ownership of where you are, and this is where you are, and it's not bad, but really address where you want to go, right? And then I realized, okay, well, I can't do this by myself. I need help. So I hired a virtual assistant first. And, she and I tag teamed on a lot of things. And she helped me to get a lot of the tactical things done. And I said, this is great, but the burnout was real. It was very, very
Yeah.
real.
Yeah.
I realized, I was spending more time at my computer than I was with my family. I, was literally dreaming about client work. And, I actually got to a place where I was able to like say, I wonder how much this should be, and wake up and have the number. Like literally it was to that point. And I said, okay, something has to change. And I realized that, I was kicked out of corporate America. I never chose the entrepreneur lifestyle. And I said, well, I kind of don't want it. Like an entrepreneur has to do like everything. They have to have all the hats on. They can't just like live in the lane that they love because they're expected to do all the things. And I was like, I don't want to do all the things. I want to do what I love and hire the people that love the stuff that I really don't like doing. I can find someone who loves finance and then give them all the finance stuff. I
Yeah.
can, and be able to live in my zone of genius happily, right? And that's where my business started to scale. And last year in August, that was like that peak moment. The company had surpassed about 23,000 in a month. And I was like, wait, what is this? And I was like, we have got to, and it continued to go. It continued to grow. And I said, I can't do this by myself. I need to make sure I have a bookkeeper in place. What the heck are my numbers? I need to make sure that I know the data in and out. Like I started to really streamline things. And I think that naturally flowed me into this role of being an agency owner and really looking at it from a larger picture and not just one piece of the puzzle,
Yeah.
if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. You got to have that 40,000-foot view, and
Yes.
that. Yeah, I really love that explanation you've given of sort of shifting. All of those sort of iterations and jumps were internal and mindset jumps, really, right? It
Yes.
wasn't so much about I've got a new technique or I've got a new hack or a new sales strategy. It was about how do I need to show up to make
Yes.
want. Right? I don't want to be hustling, grinding 24/7, 365 just to have enough nappies for the kid. I actually want to build some sort of a legacy, right? I want to have more
Yes.
than just my bills paid. Okay, if I'm going to do that, that looks like 25,000 a month. Okay,
Yes.
so what does 25,000 a month that look like, right? That looks like X number of clients. That looks like, okay, maybe I've got to double my prices or triple. I'm going to. That means more work. I don't want to be doing all the work. So now I need team, right? All these things sort of start to cascade off that initial decision of I'm going to make that shift. But for me, it has to come from that internal perspective of what do I actually want, and do I understand what that commitment is going to mean for me, and do I actually want it?
Yes.
So I think it's easy to jump on the bandwagon. Yeah, I want a 7-figure agency. I want an 8-figure agency with an exit. Great. Do you actually understand what that means to shift to agency owner, right? And have that, again, love what you're saying about that out, right? And go, I'm going to be the business owner and I'm not going to do everything. That shift is really important, right? Taking ego out and saying, right, if I'm going to be this, that means I need to act like this, and I'm okay with that. I think that.
And I also had to communicate that to the team in a very honest, transparent way, because they were so used to me being in the work with them and being in it with them. And I hired an amazing coach, and she said, while you're doing that and you're in it with your team, who's steering your ship? Who's guiding your vision? And who's making sure you get there? And I was like, no one. And she's like,
No.
you're needed at the front of the ship, to guide it, to direct it, to make sure that you're not about to hit an iceberg, to cover yourself and the team that's on the boat. And I had to go back to them, and in a very transparent, honest way, I actually apologized to them, because I realized that when I jump in to help, and in my head I'm helping them, I'm actually enabling them from growth. Because in order for them to grow, they're going to have to, like, I have to be willing to let them make some mistakes along the way, so that way they can become stronger, more resilient, more strategic in their thinking. I can't just immediately jump in and fix it. Otherwise, they're not growing, and I'm not able to do what I'm supposed to do. So I had to have a very honest, transparent conversation with them. Also letting them know that that shift was happening. And I opened the door and I said, hey, please know there's no love lost. I started this journey one way, and we're going a completely different direction. If you are on board, I love it. And if you're not, I love it too. And I would rather we have that very honest dialogue and know that there would never be any ill feelings, and it will actually be a win-win for both of us. So if you are on board, let's keep moving forward. If not, let me see how I can help you for that next phase of your career. So I just had to have that honest conversation with them. And it was by far one of the scariest conversations, especially the first one. But it was also the most exhilarating, the most the one where I really felt like I owned my truth and the assignment of the agency and where we're going.
Yeah, it's so much about communication and human relationships at that point when you're and supporting and looking after other people, right, that you've brought into your business. Yeah, really important to have those conversations early.
Yes.
and openly. So what was the outcome of that? Did everyone stay? Did some stay? Did some leave? How did that go down with the team?
Yeah. So at first, I think everybody was kind of shocked. But we had 2 or 3 people immediately email and say, I'm in. Like, whatever you need, whatever I see the vision, I want to support, I want to be a part of it. And then there were others that, said they were there, but naturally they just coasted off. And I think I had to be okay with seeing that coast and seeing them, transition to amazing other roles that weren't a part of A-ZAR, and being there and letting them know I support them through that process. So I would say, over half left, but there were like 2 or 3 that stayed. And to this day, they're their core team, and they're now in lead roles, and they help the rest of the team with strategy and development. And I'm grateful. I'm so grateful for them and being able to grow with them.
Yeah, super important that you have those conversations and you find out, right, who's loyal, who's going to help you, who's there to actually, and then and we found the same thing. Those people become senior people in your business, and they've got that extra level of conviction, and that's employees, right? Because you're handing over the steering of the ship, right? Saying, I'm going to go up front and tell us where to go, but you guys are out the back. You're back there rowing, and I trust you to row and go hard and have autonomy and do what you need to do without me, as you said, stepping in. And sometimes we feel like we're stepping in and it's helping out, but a lot of the time, actually, as you said, stepping in is actually disempowering them, right? You're taking away their capacity to learn how to fail and how to bounce back and how to build resilience and how to tough it out and all that great stuff that you went through to get to that place.
Yes.
It can be easy to forget that as well, that we go through stuff and we've been through our process and we've overcome built stress management and built some muscle, and then we want to stop people from going through that process themselves because we think that that's helping them somehow.
Yeah.
By stopping them going through their process of struggle, that we're actually helping them. But a lot of the time we're not. You want them to go through struggle. You want them to come out of that, as we were saying right up front. If they can go through that process and come out more convicted and come out with some grit skills and some willpower and some determination and some diligence and capacity to handle that stuff, that's a great employee. Well, that's a great partner in your business, right?
Yes, absolutely.
That's kind of a weird balance. We sometimes where we think we're helping, we're actually not helping that much.
Mm-hmm.
People especially want them to fail.
Yes.
We don't want to set out for them to fail, but we want to create the conditions where they're okay feeling like they can stuff up, recover, learn, and do that quickly, rather than trying to hide mistakes or not
Yes.
own up to things, and sort of build that accountability and all that good stuff that comes from trial and error. So do you sort of bake that into your business now as you bring more people in? Is that that's just how you do business now? That's just how you operate off the back of having seen that happen with your smaller team?
Yes, absolutely. And, now I don't hire. I have others on the team who hire. And by the time they get to me, it's more of the vision. So I share with them the vision, make sure that that's a good fit, make sure that they're comfortable and willing to support that vision and align with it. And then, from there, they're a part of the team and integrating, I actually hired a heart coach. Because I realized that, within the last year and a half with the pandemic, so many of us have had to transition in so many ways, not just in business, but just in life. And, we're all trying to figure it out. All of us are like trying to figure it out. And sometimes we show up to work hurting, or we show up to work angry or frustrated, and it has absolutely nothing to do with work, yet it has everything to do with work. So I hired a heart coach, and every week the heart coach meets with the team, and they literally talk about self-care. They get practical tips and plans on things that are, personal and unique to them, to where they can really self-develop internally, so that way they can show up and be present as their most authentic self. Because, I always tell the team, I'm not looking for perfection. And what I want is excellence. Because when you show up in excellence, that is literally a state of being. That's you giving your best as your best, knowing that what you're giving is good enough. And then that creates an environment to where it's undeniable. No one's going to say that's not good. Like, no one's going to tell you that's not something that they would want. So if you show up in excellence, even if we just tear apart a campaign, which thankfully we have not, but even if that happens and you showed up in excellence, the client somehow understands, and they'll be able to see, okay, maybe we should have done this, maybe we should have done that. And I'd rather you do that than try and create this facade of perfection that doesn't exist. So it just really, having the heart coach on the team and having very honest, transparent conversations with them, and letting them know, like, hey, we're all growing together, right? Like, I'm not founder, CEO over here living my best life, sleeping in on the weekdays. No, we're all challenged and we're all facing a challenge in some way, but we're in this together. And I just made that a commitment.
Love it. That's the way that you want to run a business. You want to you've got to understand that business is human, right? And business is life.
Yes.
And they talk a lot about work-life balance and all this kind of thing, but particularly as an owner, as an entrepreneur, work-life balance is a bit of a misnomer. I think it's more, for me, I tend to call it, You want like work-life integration or
Yes.
work-life alignment, right? Because
Yes.
you're a business owner. It's not going to be 50-50 down the line but it might be
Never.
80-20, but that 20 is 100% family, right? It's 100% off of work, and that work time is 100% in work. But having that integration, and particularly we've got to rate the human into the business. Someone's going to have a shitty day at home and come to work and bring that energy and bring those emotions.
Yes.
And having that, as I said, the space that you're creating in your agency is perfect, where they can feel like they have that space to do themselves and be themselves. And hey, say, look, I'm just having a shit day today. I need a break. I need a time off. But being able to have that self-awareness, but also just to communicate it and have that open space to not just hold stuff in and just get to work and crack on when you're not feeling it. So it's super important. Love what you're doing. It's really, it sounds like you've moved yourself all the way up. See a really heart-centered, heartfelt place. So yeah, great to hear that you've built that business predicated on all this kind of stuff. Really cool.
Thank you. Thank you.
If people do want to find out more about you, where's the best place for them to come and connect with you?
Yes, if you would love to connect with me, I would say LinkedIn would be the ideal space. So just head over to LinkedIn and you can find me at Altimese Curry, which is Curry like Stephen Curry. Everywhere else, I'm Altimese Nichole, Nichole, or you can follow the agency at the A-ZAR, EZER Agency.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Go and connect with Altimese, find out all the good stuff that they're doing. If you're looking for a great place to go work and you thrive in excellence and challenge, then hit Altimese up and see if she's got a spot open. But love what you're doing. Love your entire philosophy and sort of I love that journey that you've taken from sort of the freelancer, rejected from the corporate world and went, stuff it, I'm going to do my own thing, but I'm going to put it together and come from a place of what do I want? How do I need to be? How do I need to show up to take that step into the next level? Really great stuff.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me.
Really. No, thank you. Appreciate you dropping by. Thanks for telling your story. It was very, very cool. Hope the folks at home got a lot out of it and sort of understand what it actually takes to make that transition from so those different lanes, those different tracks of agency life, right? Freelance life, creative life, and just being conscious and intentional about who am I and what's best suited for me and my life purposes and my goals and what I actually want out of this thing.
Awesome.
Thank you so much. Thanks everyone for tuning in. As always, we'll catch you on the next one. Thanks for dropping by. Thanks, Altimese.
Thank you.